Hello, Unified community. Welcome to the Unified Exchange podcast, where we at Special Olympics Minnesota share ideas and stories that foster inclusion in and outside the classroom. Each episode, you can expect us to cover a variety of topics to help grow the unified programming happening at your school. Our hope is that these conversations can inspire change, cultivate leaders, and transform environments that embrace each other's differences.
Welcome back to the Unified Exchange. My name is Alexis Edmondson, and I am the Southern Minnesota Unified Champion Schools Coordinator at Special Olympics Minnesota. In this episode, we will be highlighting Unified PE and hearing from Michaela Ferguson, who is the Unified PE educator at Wayzata Middle School West, and Kelsey Coley, who is the Unified PE educator at Wayzata High School. To start us off, Michaela and Kelsey, would you please introduce yourselves and share your background in Unified?
Yeah, I can start. I'm Michaela. I have been teaching at Wayzata West for 4 years now. We started Unified 3-4 years ago. So that's kind of my background in that. We started with just Unified PE, and then it's developed to more programming from there. And this is my 4th year teaching as well.
All right, and I'm Kelsey Coley. This is my 3rd year at Wayzata High School. I was fortunate enough to inherit a Unified PE program that's been very strong. Pretty cool that Wayzata High School has a couple of Unified PE opportunities. So we have our club, and then we have like cooking, culinary, all that fun jazz. And I'm at an elementary school where we are piloting a Unified PE program right now.
Awesome, that's fantastic. Thank you both for sharing. So for our audience, we're just going to dive into Unified PE. To start with, how would you describe Unified PE in your own words?
Yeah, I can start with that one. So Unified PE, for me, I think is an opportunity for students of all different abilities and backgrounds to kind of find a common level spot to succeed or make the attempt to succeed in a bunch of different activities. At the high school, we really focus on that recreational and leisure piece, so lifelong activities that they can do in their community with their friends, without their friends, so it's just a nice, neat time for them.
I think Kelsey described it really well, but at the middle school level, kind of building some of those recreational skills for them to have at the high school and in life, but also some of that skill building still and leadership building. At the middle school level, they need a lot of the tools to be a leader, and like, what does leadership look like? What does it look like to be inclusive? And they're still building a lot of those things. So they need a lot more guidance at the beginning and really investing in some of those conversations of, what does it look like to be inclusive? What is unified? Why we do it? Why it's important to our school culture, so that they have those skills.
Absolutely. So then in addition to that, logistically, please share how often you meet for Unified PE and who teaches Unified PE at both your schools.
Yeah, we are on an every other day schedule at our school, and then our electives are blocks. So Unified PE is an elective class now. It definitely didn't start that way when we started it. But so we meet every other day for 80 minutes, and then a DAPE and PE teacher teach it.
And it's going to be about the same at the high school. It is also an elective course. We meet every day, 80 minutes, 80 to 90 minutes, depending on the day that it falls on. And it is for our general education students. It is sophomores and above that can take it, but it's open to all of my adaptive PE students, and then it's a Phy-Ed and adaptive PE teachers that teach the course.
Awesome. That's fantastic to hear you both have co-teaching happening at your schools. I think that's something we highly encourage across all of our schools. So then looking at the format of a typical Unified PE session, would you enlighten me on that? What does a typical day look like?
Yeah. I can jump in, so typically, I start with just my gen ed partners, me and my co-teacher, and we kind of get a little rundown of the day, what our partnerships are looking like before we go and walk up to our classrooms to walk our other classmates down. And then from there, we always engage, or we start our lessons with a walk and talk and a question of the day where they get opportunity to, if they're with a new partnership, they're getting to know their new partner. And they're spending some time to get to know each other before we kind of get down into like the nitty and gritty of our rec leisure skills, where we, they work on like that skill that's related to that recreational activity first before they progress to like a game, and that can be like, just some small-sided activities, or if it's depending on the group, if they want to like, do some cross action and like play against other teams, they can do that as well.
Yeah, I would say we have a very similar format, which is new to us this year. So I feel like I'm learning and taking what Kelsey has done at the high school and from other teachers who have it in a block schedule. The last 2 years, we've only had 39 minutes for Unified, which went so fast, and it was so hard to even like get through. Like, we want to have meaningful conversation and connection. We want to do skill building and play a game, and that's so hard in such a long time frame. So now with this being an elective and a block, we have that time to really make those connections in that class. So we start the same way. Our Unified partners are there. We do a conversation piece of the day. So on the board is a question like, how would you define inclusion? Or what's inclusive language? Or what does leadership look like, feel like, sound like? So every day we have like a meaningful discussion of what those things look like. Again, for middle schoolers, those things are important, of like black and white, this is what leadership looks like. This is how we support people in this class. What questions do you have? Because they're very curious about all the things at that age level. And then our athletes come down. We do a same warm-up every day. We like to keep the same routine, very routine-oriented for all of our friends. Then we do a conversation, connection piece, like what'd you do this weekend? What's a fun fact about you? Getting them in new groups. And then we do skill building, a game, and then we stretch and cool down. They keep the same groups for the whole unit. I don't know if you do the same thing. So they get assigned a group to work with, and they stay with them. So if we're doing Frisbee games, they stay with them for that whole unit. And then they get, that way they just, get to know each other really well in that group before getting a new group. And it's expected. So like, we know what to expect. We have that routine. This is my group for this. And I found having those structures and routines is really helpful for middle schoolers and just a lot of our friends who need that structure in their day. Do you guys keep the same?
Yeah, so I kind of played around with that where like we go typically 2 units, so about 2 weeks long before we kind of switch partnerships up. That's taken a lot of collaboration with like our Unified arts teacher and how they like do groupies and stuff, and trying to keep those systems kind of aligned within all our Unified programs, which has also been very helpful with that routine piece too.
Yes, they know what to expect, and I get to work with this group today, or today we're getting new groups, like I'm excited to make new friends. So like that's fun to see when they're excited to get to know new people, and we talk about building new friendships and not always working with the same people, and it's good for everyone. So
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that's fantastic to hear. And I love the walk and talk, like the conversational piece of it as well, in addition to your skills and your games, and it all around building leadership, building those relationships throughout Unified PE. With that, do you have any creative approaches for Unified PE that you'd like to share?
I can go. I think it's really nice that our speech language pathologist, she usually comes in on Mondays during our Unified PE, and it's a time where our Unified partners can connect with her if they have questions about communication pieces, just because we work with such a wide range of communication styles with our students. And so that's a really nice piece, especially like, if we're doing our walk and talk. And so if it's not a, a typical verbal conversation, but, offering a this or that and some of those other little pieces. So I wouldn't say that's like super a creative approach that we taken, but like, just like some of the little things that we're like trying to figure out, and then just offering different modalities of ways that we're doing things as well. Because some things are not like favorable for some, compared to others. So
yeah. I would say I don't know how creative this is, but I have student leaders lead a lot of our activities. So I like to just be like one of the adults in the room and be there for questions and help guide. But I really put a lot on our student leaders, and they, at the beginning of the year, I've had a couple students who've been in it 3 years. I've had them every semester in Unified PE, and so they are the ones that do the intro to the class, like what is it, what are expectations for this class, like what does it look like. They do a lot of like the teaching of skills. I'm like, what do we do for this? What does this look like? So that's fun. I try to put a lot on leaders. They take turns like leading stretches, and that was actually like student ideas. So I do a lot of like, what's an idea you have for today, and let them try to plan some of the lessons, because I always tell my students, I'm like, I'm not a middle schooler, so I know what you guys kind of like, but you guys are the ones with the good ideas. You guys are the ones doing the activities. Like, what do you want to do, and what do you want this to look like? So I like to put a lot back on them and really give them that leadership role, and giving everyone the opportunity, no matter their ability level, to lead. So whether that's stretches or an activity we're doing, like, you demonstrate this skill, like, how does this look? Like, no one wants to listen to me teach the whole time. So like putting a lot back on the students, I'd say.
Yeah, those are both creative approaches. Thank you both for sharing those. Looking at Unified PE and your students, your school environment, other spaces, like what benefits have you seen from Unified PE around your school community?
So much. And that's the fun thing about getting to see it grow from the beginning to like now. This year's 8th graders started Unified 3 years ago. So we started with the 6th grade class and built it up with them. And it's blossomed into so much more. Like, we have Unified PE, we have Unified Art, Unified Advisory that meets every day, so our leadership group. Unified Club that meets twice a week. We have like Unified Coffee Cart, Unified My Time sessions that they go to our special education classrooms and help in. So like, to think about 3 years ago when we started with just one class and we didn't know what we were doing, to now it's like, wow, like, to take a step back and look and remind ourselves of that. So just to see how it's grown, the connections they've built, like genuine connections. Like, students are inviting each other to their birthday parties. They're sitting together at lunch, which didn't happen before. They're advocating for one another. Like, if a student's being bullied or made fun of, like, and actually having the tools to like know what to say when they're standing up for someone is really cool. Like, I'll stand back sometimes. I'm like, that was amazing. Like, I couldn't have said it better. And teaching other people and teaching teachers. I've had multiple teachers reach out to me and they're like, your students are correcting me on like inclusive language and what it looks like to be inclusive in my classroom, of where I can put our, athletes and friends in here to make it a more inclusive space. So I'd say just like seeing them advocate the true like connection building, that they're hanging out outside of school and inviting each other to things, has really been cool to see.
I mean, Michaela couldn't have said it even better. I mean, that's just such a cool piece, especially like, that connection that they make, like, outside of that classroom space. Like, we have students that are like going to get ice cream together, or, I'm like looking for one of my adaptive PE students for groups, and then he's off away sitting with his buddies at the lunch table. And it's like, oh yeah, where's so-and-so at? So it's just, some of those little things are just so neat to see. And just like that piece where, we think about, like, we have at the high school an academic mentorship program, and so typically these students go into some of the, tutor programs, like, in some of the gen ed classes, but this year we've just seen it take off where there are students that are like, no, can I go to, our STC program? Can I help out in our apply program? And they're taking that initiative and wanting to be in those spaces, and that's based upon all the, the unified experiences that they've been able to, have within the school community. So that's been really awesome to see, at least from the high school standpoint.
Yeah. And to see them transition from school to school, like, you see ninth graders coming in, which is a hard transition. Like I see sixth graders coming in. And I think for a lot of our students who receive special education services, their parents are like, what does this look like for them? What does a new school, a bigger school look like? And finding their place and finding friends with a lot more people that they're unfamiliar with, and being able to tell their parents and for their parents to see like they have like genuine friendships here, like people who care about them, and they've really found their place because of Unified, because being exposed to this and the inclusive cultures we have at our schools, that kids, that transition is so much easier. And I've noticed that every year since we've started it, that kids find their place so much easier.
Wow, you're both just giving me goosebumps. I love it. You kind of touched on this, but any other opportunities that have arisen as a result of Unified PE?
I would say like Unified Athletics. A lot of our students didn't have the opportunities before to go outside of school and participate in some of those things. Like we have our Unified Track Meet at the high school, and we just last year started a middle school Unified Track Meet. And kids are talking about it all winter, like in all school year. They've been like, when's our track meet? I'm like, we still got 5 months. But I love that we are so excited. And then like our Unified Cornhole tournament we went to, that was an invite, and other opportunities for Unified Athletics that these parents are like, wow, this is so cool that my kid has this opportunity to compete in sports. So.
Yeah, and same. We have like the cornhole tournament that we also went to, you know, the different schools that are hosting soccer tournaments, and even just through Special Olympics, some of the invitationals, and getting those opportunities out for students as well, such as like the basketball games at halftime. So it's just, you know, it opens up a world of possibilities, which is really awesome for our families to see.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's something cool I see across the state is that invitational model and whole school engagement exhibition games, where those schools are inviting different schools to come and do the sports and have recreational or make it more competitive, whatever the vibe is for the day. But that's just a fun way that schools are connecting between districts across the state. So it's neat to hear you're seeing that.
Yes, and for kids to see that, like, hey, this isn't just our school doing this. Like, look at how many peers, like, in schools around you that are doing this too. And, like, making those connections and seeing, like, how many people Unified like has impacted and has involved is always eye-opening for them. And they're like, wow, I can't believe like how many schools and like groups they had and everything. Like hearing those conversation pieces is really cool.
Absolutely. Okay, we've talked everything about currently with Unified PE, but if we look back on where Unified PE started at both of your schools, which key players were involved in conversations regarding implementing Unified PE? I know, Kelsey, you said was kind of set up and you took it and ran with it, but Michaela, maybe you have some more insight on that. Kelsey too. So
yeah, I feel like the buy-in was there. I came in and I said right away when I started at Wayzata, I was like, I want to start Unified, like this is something I'm passionate about. And everyone, yes, like everyone right away was like, yes, 100%, like let's do it. I'd say like the key people were our special education supervisor. She has always felt really passionate about Unified and has always been supportive of everything like any of us have brought to the table for Unified, and supporting us. And she helped advocate to principals, to PE teachers, anyone else in the building that was like, oh, tell me more about this. So that was really helpful. Our principal was right away on board. He was like, yep, like, I want this, like, run with it. Like, I trust your judgment that you are going to do what's best for this program. So our admin has been nothing but supportive. Our PE teachers, that's a big conversation. And I was fortunate enough to have PE teachers who have been so supportive of this and help in any way in Unified, help in Unified Club. Like, they're just all on board, which makes it so much easier when everyone's like, yes, you can have the gym today for this, because I think every PE teacher and DAPE teacher struggle is like gym space. Like, okay, where are we going to get this class in? I know, especially for like our elementary schools, how are we going to fit Unified into our day with gyms? So having PE teachers that see the value in this and want to give you the space to do it is really helpful. And getting them on board and working out kind of the logistic pieces of scheduling students in there and all of that stuff. Yeah, I'd say that's the kind of key people that helped get it up, and it takes everyone at the table to be like, okay, what piece did we forget? And you're going to learn things along the way of people you forgot to, like, oh, wait, I need this from you. Like, yes, are you okay with this? And parents, and having them have an understanding of what the class is. I think there was a lot of questions right away from parents of both our students who receive services and our gen ed students of what is this class and like why are we doing it. So I think having a lot of conversations with them to get them on board, and now they see the benefit for it and they're like, yes, 100%, like our kid will do everything unified and we trust you. But right away it's having some of those conversations.
I think that's pretty well said.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you for sharing that process. So you kind of touched on, as you're starting Unified PE, what are some of the hurdles you faced, and how did you overcome those hurdles?
So many hurdles, and everyone would say this, like, and it's good. Like, you learn when you start something, like, you have to start small and you have to expect hurdles, and there's still hurdles happening today. And I know you would say the same thing.
Yeah.
There's still hurdles happening, and there always will be. But I would say, like, getting students in the class who truly want to be there and have an understanding of what it is, I think was my toughest hurdle. Like, we had the staff who understood what it was, and I did a lot of, like, speaking to our staff about what is unified, why is it important, before this class started, speaking to paras, speaking to our special education teachers of who goes in this class and why, and all of these tough conversations. And then when we started, I was like, okay, none of these kids have done this before. They have never heard of Unified until this point. They didn't interact with our athletes before this, like in elementary school. So now it's learning those things and having those conversations of, okay, this is why we do this. This is how we be inclusive. And like, it was so much teaching the first year of teaching our general education students how to work in that class, like saying next to them, how could we be more helpful? How could we do this? I'd say that was a hard piece, and getting students in there who were liked the idea of it, and then they got in the class and I think they realized this wasn't for them. And so navigating that piece, and that's still something you navigate, is students who maybe had a different idea or maybe aren't as comfortable in there, like, how do you navigate that? I'd say that was like a big hurdle that was tougher than I expected it to be.
Yeah, and I would say from the high school standpoint is that being at a high school like Wayzata where you have 4,000 students, the scheduling is a jigsaw puzzle that is, almost seems impossible to solve. So I come in, our assistant AP that, kind of tackles that. But I would say that's the biggest hurdle from my end is that, finding that time to like fit in Unified PE, or, making sure that, students are scheduled that are well intended to, be enrolled in the class. And so that's where I see some of that piece, but then all some of those similar pieces where you have students that maybe it's a new experience for them and they're not sure how to interact, with different students, or, they get too comfortable with one student and they're not sure how to navigate, a different, person that they're working with. And so some of those pieces are some of those hurdles that we're also navigating at the high school.
Yeah, scheduling is tough. We've had a different schedule every year since we started Unified at our school. And so learning through that of how do we schedule these students, and I think a big piece is having your admin understand the scheduling piece of who goes in Unified. And I've done a lot of advocating around that and a lot of meetings with our principals of, nope, this is who goes in this class. Like, this is the students who are receiving services. These are the kids that, do they have good intentions of being here?
Will you talk a little bit about what it was like when you were going back and forth from different schools and you weren't just at one location?
Yeah. I used to travel between, we have 3 middle schools in our district, and my first year, I traveled between the 3. And so that year we piloted Unified PE at 2 of the 3. And we tried different approaches at the 2. I wanted to try one with a little bit smaller group, and then I tried one with a larger group that was basically like 2 classes combined with another teacher who taught with me. And definitely learned a lot through that of trying different ways of what worked and what didn't. Traveling made it tricky for schedules too, of just supporting the students who were in the class, investing in, like, it's a lot of investing in the gen ed kids too, of getting them to buy into this program. And so I'd say that was really tough traveling, of how do I connect with these gen ed kids when I'm here 2 hours of the day? And so having to get creative and go into PE classes and talk to students, and in those push-in services you do for DAPE, like finding kids that you're like, you work really well and are super inclusive, like, would you want to try Unified PE? So I would say like that, I don't know. It was hard to travel, and those people who do travel, my heart goes to you. I understand the hurdles you are facing of trying to work out your schedule between 3 schools and making sure that the students you want in Unified are getting in that class the time you're there, and providing those services. So, yeah.
Yes, thank you for sharing that, because I think there are a lot of educators that do travel between schools, and so it doesn't maybe seem as feasible for them to implement Unified PE, but hearing that it is possible is a great piece of that knowledge to share. And then just the ways that you're being creative to connect with gen ed students and your DAPE students and everyone across the board. So on that same note, how did you recruit students to join Unified PE?
Well, it's
Go ahead, Kelsey.
well, it's in the course catalog, obviously. but I think where that piece that stems from, like, the middle schools where it's an established program, I think already creates that noise, essentially, where they already have that unified experience and they're intrigued and wanting to take a unified course at the high school. And so I think that kind of does the work in itself sometimes. But then, you know, we have our Unified Club as well that's always kind of going around and recruiting people, and the high school does like activity fairs and all that fun stuff. And so there's always ways that Unified is getting advertised around the building. So
Definitely.
Yeah, I would say once the elementary started it too, like now our elementaries are all doing it. I have students that come up every year, I guess this year and last year, that have an understanding of what's unified. Like we did it in elementary, so that's been easier. The first year when I started it, I actually went, so the year before we were going to start it, I went to all of our elementaries that feed into our middle school and talked to the 5th grade classes. So I had to coordinate with the principals at the 2 elementaries that feed into our school of, hey, I want to come present to your 5th grade classrooms about, we're going to start Unified PE at West next year. Can I come speak to them what it is? And if they're interested, then they can sign up for this. So then I went to the 5th grade classes and presented, had a sheet that they could sign up for it. And then from there, we sent that sheet, if it worked in the student schedule that signed up. Then we sent an email to their parents asking for them to opt in or opt out when it was that first year, and it was not an elective. So then these parents got an email saying, hey, your student, this is what this class is. This is the, what the class structure will kind of look like. Here's why we're doing it. Your student has said this is something they want to be a part of. Is this something that you are okay with supporting your student trying? And then I'd say, I don't think we had any parents decline, which was great. So we had a nice large group. And then now it's on our course registration. We have so many unified things that kids just know what it is. So I'd say our Unified Club, I talk about it to our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders every year of like, hey, if you want to take this class, this is what it is. Our whole school engagement talks about all of that. So like when we do Unity Day or the Polar Plunge, we talk about, we're a Unified Champion School, and this is what Unified Champion School means, is each piece. So we have like the leadership, we have the athletics, which is our PE class. So they have a true understanding of, oh, this is why we have this banner in our gym, or what's that banner hanging up? So that they all have an understanding of what each of those pieces is of why we're a unified champion school. And then when you get to the point of every student in the school has heard of it and has had those conversations in their classrooms, it just kind of promotes itself and word of mouth from other students.
Yeah. I think that's the beauty of it, is that it's so truly like student driven and student led, you know, that it's like, well, I'm just really the adult in the room sometimes with some advice.
Yep.
And that's really it, because they're just so, I mean, like, it's just so amazing to see like how they just take ownership of like, you know, owning the spaces that are in and making sure that everyone is involved and that no one's left behind. So that's just, it's just a beauty in itself.
Yeah, and seeing them grow in that maturity with it, I'd say like from 6th grade leaders to 8th grade leaders is different people completely, and they're building those skills. And so having your upperclassmen, you know, demonstrate what it looks like to be inclusive to your lowerclassmen makes a huge difference. I know in middle school we try to not often mix our 8th and 6th graders as much as possible. Like they don't have any classes together or anything. But I have them like in unified club together because our 6th graders learn so much from our 8th graders, and our 8th graders can teach them so many skills, or like this is how you can work with this partner, or this is how you can support them. So having your upperclassmen or kids who've been involved for a while do all that teaching is really helpful.
Absolutely. Well, thank you both for sharing all of that. I think, like you're saying, just the peer-to-peer interaction seems to be like the foundation of promoting that course itself, and then like the continued environment around the school. So thinking about what resources did you find helpful in getting started? Maybe it was starting the program, maybe it was starting teaching Unified PE. Any resources that were really helpful along that path?
Maxine I still reach out to her often about random questions that come up, but she helped me a lot with just how to have hard conversations with people who maybe aren't on board, or like how have other schools handled this that started Unified. So we met a lot, and I picked her brain about things, and she gave me resources. And then I would say some people that are in the DAPE world, like Jen Hebank, has been amazing. I always reach out to her with questions, and she helped kind of get me started. And like we had lunch one day, and she's like, here's how you can lay all of this out, and here's how I do it. So having connections of other people who are doing it is a huge thing. The Minnesota DAPE conference, huge resource that you have teachers who are presenting of what they do in their unified class. Being able to just sit and have lunch with them and be like, gosh, I'm really struggling with this. Like, how did you handle this? And just hearing that everyone kind of went through the same things and you're not alone in it really makes a big difference. And talking to Kelsey, like I'll pick her brain often of like, how do you do this at the high school? So just, it's really connections. It's people around you and just not being afraid to ask questions. And because I don't think I've ever asked a question that you were like, oh, I don't know the answer to that, or someone else or Maxine hasn't had an answer to, or knows the person that can answer it. So finding those people to connect with is a good resource for sure.
Yeah, and I would say coming into the space, I leaned heavily on Michaela. She was a tremendous resource to have as well. I was also really fortunate to have within the high school staff a couple of the FIAT teachers that were also within that unified space, whether that was an advisor for our unified club at the time or just teaching it in the past. So that was a huge strength, especially when navigating, you know, the new schedule. Like I never taught a bot class before, and I was like, what am I supposed to do with 90 minutes? I only had, you know, 45-minute classes.
Yep.
And so, you know, I was like literally living in the Special Olympics website and the resources there, and like, you know, pulling activities from there, and like how do I foster, you know, that community, the leadership pieces, you know, with all of my students, and like would it be in such a brand new space for me, you know. And so leaning on all those connections and, you know, all that's out there in the World Wide Web was amazing.
The web, yes. Twitter, X now. TikTok activities. If you're on TikTok, you can just Google activity ideas and even like adapted and unified, and those were not out there a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I feel like, and now like unified activities are all over the internet. So
Yeah.
that's always good too.
And even to plug our related service providers, because absolutely huge piece, especially like, our physical therapists, our physical health and disabilities teacher, our speech and language, our DHH teacher, just all that partnership together just makes such a tremendous difference.
Modifications that you don't think about. You're like, I don't know how every student in here can do this activity, but we want to do it. And their expertise is, amazing.
And even the getting to know the new students that like you never had before, but like the resource teachers and such, and like, hey, how do I unlock this with this student, or what are some strategies? So
Yeah, 100%.
Sounds like it's the connections are the bottom line best resource out there. I think that's something I really enjoy about my job is being able to connect educators and say, hey, Michaela and Kelsey are doing this in Wayzata. Maybe you should touch base with them and get ideas or bounce ideas off each other. So I'm glad to hear that's something you're seeing on your side as well. As we wrap up here, what is one piece of advice you'd like to share with any educators interested in starting Unified PE or running Unified PE?
don't hesitate to ask anyone.
Ask questions. Don't be afraid to start it. And it's going to be hard right away for sure, especially when it's something you care about so much, and you've seen the benefits of it. Don't be afraid to run with it and change things along the way, and you're going to find things that don't work and things that work. Start small, and what you envisioned will come true one day. It's just you have to start small, and you have to start somewhere, even if that's 5 kids you're starting with, and building something. Every program has to start somewhere.
Wonderful. Well, like I said, it's truly been a joy to speak with both of you and learn more about your experience, your expertise with Unified PE. So we really appreciate you taking the time to come in today and speaking with us about Unified PE. Thank you.
Yes,
Of
thanks for
course.
having
Thanks.
us.
We are rolling into our last segment of the episode, which is the Opportunity Share segment. Listeners, this is the prime time for you to stay in the know of what's happening at Special Olympics Minnesota. My colleague, Santi, on the schools team is here to join us today.
Thank you, Abby. The Opportunity Share segment will help all of you know what is happening in the next month or so across Special Olympics Minnesota community. As always, feel free to check out our website, specialolympicsminnesota.org, read our monthly newsletters, or reach out to your Unified Champion School contact to learn more about all the events happening around the state. Abby, can you please kick us off with events you are looking forward to coming up in March?
Yes, in March, we will have many polar plunges, including the largest plunge of the season, Minneapolis Polar Plunge. Winter Games will be held this month. Young athletes will be happening across some of our communities. Volunteer registration is still open to help with our community events, so please check out our website to sign up and come support athletes like me. I am most looking forward to doing the Minneapolis Polar Plunge because I get to do it with my friends. I have already done about 23 polar plunges over the past several years.
You are amazing. I know you will do great. Also, this month will be Spread the Word Day or month coming up in March.
What are some ways that schools can celebrate Spread the Word Day or month in March?
Great question, Abby. For Spread the Word, we have resources from Special Olympics and Special Olympics Minnesota. From Special Olympics, there is a Spread the Word website, which provides opportunities for schools to activate campaigns over derogatory language, bullying, and inclusive action. as well as an opportunity to make a pledge and resources available to take action to spread inclusion. From Special Olympics Minnesota, we have resources on this fantastic guide to focus on kindness, inclusion, and awareness, including signing the pledge for inclusion, educating our community, combat the use of the R word, spread the word lesson plans, engage on social media, get creative, as in a dress-up day, a kickoff event, decorate your school, inclusion bingo, and even more. Please contact your Unified Champion School contact for all these great resources available for this social inclusion campaign. Abby, will you please wrap us up with the athlete oath?
As an athlete for 20 years and a staff member at SOMN for 14, I would love to. Let me win, but if I cannot win, let me be brave in the attempt.
That's a wrap on episode 10 of the Unified Exchange podcast. Thank you for listening.
And always remember to live unified.